short video on the water footprint, and after that, we just start. Yeah.
Every choice matters, and the impact of our choices on natural resources often goes unseen, especially for water. Water used to make a pair of shoes, to jeans, or even a phone goes up to thousands and thousands of liters. What if we could give consumers a way to make their choices better? Introducing the Water Sustainability Score. From factors such as water sourced, water used, water wasted, and water recycled, we created a first-of-a-kind symbol that shows you how water-positive brands and corporations really are. A global standard to show sustainable use for water. One symbol for humanity, one symbol for the world.
Thank you. So these are some initiatives that we are taking ahead, and I take great pleasure in introducing a distinguished panel here, starting with Mr. Shraman Jha. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Hindustan Unilever Foundation, a Chevening Scholar from the London School of Economics, and a graduate from IIM Calcutta and St. Stephen's, Delhi. Welcome to the panel, Shraman.
Thank you so much.
And we have Luisa Cortesi, who is a distinguished academician. She has 2 PhDs from Yale, and she's a visiting faculty at Cornell and Erasmus, Netherlands. And she's worked at several UN organizations as a water sustainability and water expert. And most importantly, a very, very interesting experience in India, in floods, especially in rural Bihar, and water quality and water disinfection. Welcome to the panel, Luisa. And Prasanna Jogdeo, he is the manager for the International Water Association for the Southeast Asia region, an entrepreneur, a strong proponent of nature-based solutions, with a doctorate from the NTU Singapore, and comes with a fantastic experience on either sides of doing interventions on the ground and now trying to drive water sustainability through the International Water Association. Welcome all of you all. And this is such a distinguished panel. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to moderate this. And I'll first start with Shraman, a very, very passionate water sustainability or water steward, as I would call. I work for one of the largest organizations. I quickly would like to ask you your experience in, you've seen a plethora of initiatives, you've implemented a lot of them, you've seen others. What do you think are the key focus areas right now as emerging trends in water sustainability?
Thank you so much. I've been a late convert to the issue of water. In fact, I was rather blind to it till not very long ago. And that's when I joined this assignment and started focusing on it. It really hit me hard that if somebody like me who was otherwise engaged with a lot of environment causes knew so little, how much the wider world would be knowing it. With specific reference to India, though it's common in all parts of the world, the concern is not about water in totality. At the end of the day, it's a water cycle. The absolute quantity of water remains constant. It has to be the right kind of water, the right kind of place for the right kind of use. I think something which has changed very dramatically, and particularly for South Asia, is the entire issue around groundwater, bhujal, as it would be in Hindi. And maybe in the early days you extracted only so much out of it because it was not easy to extract. But with the advent of technology, power, electricity, so it's almost like a free resource and you pump it out. Till someday the realization hits like it's your credit card bill. You can buy what you want, but today or tomorrow it'll hit you. And you can pump it out much faster than you can recharge it. I think that's one very critical dimension. And I think the other dimension I'd like to draw attention on very quickly is, of late, last 4 or 5 years, lots of conversation around climate change. And it's almost as if that's a separate subject and not connected with water. But the fact that there are two sides, I think gets captured beautifully in all the Indian languages, including Hindi, where climate change straight away translates to Jal, Vayu, Parivartan. So water is embedded in that hot topic of the day. So I think these are probably two very connected themes which I think need to be top of mind when we talk of water sustainability at present.
I'll come back to you with a related question, but I will now move on to Lucia. Having been a distinguished academician, what do you think is the role that academics can play in terms of contributing towards the emerging trends of water sustainability?
Thank you for asking this question. It's interesting because several years ago, I've been in India for 25 years, it felt sometimes that India was scared of academicians, that was scared sort of receiving criticism. And I think your question instead is a symptom of the fact that now India has the strength to engage academicians at a different level. So, but let me be a little clear here, not to make any mistake. You know, a lot of the people, of the eminent speaker on this stage, have been proposing their ideas. Sometimes the product, they're selling their product in a way, right? If we are talking about the future of humanity and the future of water, this isn't window shopping. So it's a serious topic, which means that water and the country and the natural resources in the country are not up for grabs. Now, what's interesting about academia is that we have nothing to sell. At least in the Netherlands, where I am a permanent faculty, we are prohibited from private earnings. So we cannot sell anything. That doesn't mean we cannot give. And it doesn't mean that we cannot, it only means that we cannot take. So we can give our competence. We cannot become rich ourselves, but we can enrich. And I suggest that there is a lot of wealth there. Of course, they're not all pearls, yeah? You have to figure out where there is competence. And one way, I think, to figure it out is to think about who can tell you stuff that are uncomfortable, that you don't want to hear, but they're going to push you in new right direction. So let me give you some practical advice here. India is a country with many great doctors, many great engineers, fabulous architects. Somehow I feel that there are some categories of expertise that are not as spread out as they should. An example are historians and ecologists. See, the market has no memory. Technology has no memory. Market has no memory means the cash in the pocket is over, yeah? Technology too, we're full of wastelands of technology. But the country has a memory, and this country in particular has a memory. Now, how to spread it is by hiring historians across the board. When I was working for UNDP and WFP here in Delhi, but from the New York office, my last advice to the country director, to my bosses, were hire historians. And the second part is hire ecologists. Not ecologists, but spread them around. The point is that the only and the greatest producer of water is the ecosystem. Nothing else. All your finance and market and technology are not going to produce it, right? Not saying that they aren't great and they're useless, but I'm saying that the ecology is the greatest science in terms of understanding complexity. And I'm neither an ecologist nor an historian, to be clear. Yes, I'm not selling my competence here either. And I think this is key because exactly as we all know that we need doctors, we are very vulnerable and we rely on doctors. Well, I believe that the doctors of the future are ecologists. So here is some practical suggestion as well. Thank you.
Nice to get a completely different narrative of what should be done and beyond all the IITians and the architects and the civil engineers we have. We'll take this very seriously to try and see if we can get more historians and ecologists. But I think there's a point in there, so because what is happening right now is a completely unstructured market of a lot of good things happening all over the place. There is no aggregating of a particular platform which aggregates all the good behavior, the evidences that work. And so probably a fresh perspective to this. Thank you, Luisa, for that. I'll come back to you with some more questions. Coming to Prasanna, you have an interesting background of having tried to do something on the ground in rural areas, especially around water bodies. And most importantly, in your current role in the International Water Association, what do you think how do you correlate the experience on the ground that you have, and now that you are at an international body, how you can actually identify the challenges and probably the solutions, or a discussion platform to arrive at these kind of solutions?
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for inviting me here, and I'm really glad to be here because the theme of this session and this conclave in general is very coherent with both my roles. Because at International Water Association, we have a huge network of water professionals, and we believe in knowledge exchange, we believe in collaboration, we believe in understanding or identifying problems of the future or challenges of the future, and then start working towards it. So that is one aspect. And second aspect, as my role as a co-founder before joining IWA, I was working on rejuvenation of water bodies. And that's where, when I was working on these water bodies, I realized what is the importance of it and the kind of ecological functions they play, and the way we are degrading them. What are the benefits, or what are the effects of that onto human health as well? So, in a way, through both these roles, what I have realized is when we implement some solutions, it has to be context specific. So we have to understand, as she mentioned, that the ecology of that particular area, hydrogeology of that particular area, and then context-specific solutions have to be given. Even when we talk about urban areas or peri-urban areas, when we are implementing infrastructure, again, the same context has to be there. How and why we are implementing the infrastructure, how are we going to maintain it, how are we going to operate it, that is something that we have to start thinking before we implement something. So I think context specificity and futuristic thinking, or understanding what we want to do before we actually get into it directly, is something that I've learned through these two roles.
A very valid point, because all our collective experience definitely shows that intervention into water sustainability is an ecosystem approach. It's a multi-stakeholder, all-inclusive activity. But one of the key challenges that always everybody faces is the need recognition. What is actually the need and what we need to do as interventions? So that comes to Shraman for a very interesting question. You're on both sides of the coin. You're a part of a large FMCG which leverages a lot of agriculture and agricultural produce in doing things. And on the other side, you're actually doing a lot of interventions to help farmers, communities get into water stewardship. So there is a fine line between doing business and a fine line in terms of helping the community which gives you the business. Agriculture being the largest consumer of water, followed by industry, which is the next. How do you think the entire narrative is going to pan out, especially with emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, stochastic forecasting, water risk management? With your extensive experience, I'd love you to share a few ideas, thoughts, and your experience for the audience here, please.
So at the outset, while the organization I work for is funded by a consumer company, I am not associated with the consumer company at all. I am 100% on the social side and social sector. So that is that. Having said that, the question that you asked, I think technology has to play, like in every other part, it has to play a role in making that difference to things like water. And as Professor Luisa pointed out, water is not going to get created out of various kinds of but however, the management of water, there can be a lot that can be harnessed. And I'll give you one very small example that came out of one of the startups. And we were able to help them pilot it out, and thereafter various state governments have picked it up. Very basic question, as you said, 80% of water goes in agriculture. But why do you need water in agriculture? Essentially, to get the soil moist up to a certain level. It's essentially a management of soil moisture. There's an optimal level to that. More than that doesn't help. It should not dry more than that. But if you've seen the aggregate pumps, if you're running and you're not paying for the fuel, let it run. How does it matter? A simple intervention, IoT based, planted in the field, which just sends you a signal that, okay, now the soil is getting dry, please switch on the motor. And a separate signal coming to, okay, it's reached the optimal level, switch it off. Itself makes sure that fine, you're not changing anything fundamentally to what you're doing, but you're not wasting the water. Human beings are lazy. Even that effort of switching on and off is, so the next stage, I believe, is that it'll automatically switch it on for you and switch it off for you. So obviously the advances that we are seeing even in the area of artificial intelligence, etc., makes it possible to digest and absorb a lot of data, make sense of the data, and we'll have to find ways and means not just to use it in large organizations, but how do we make it commonplace and by the agrarian community? They are the final users of it, and they will be the worst hit if we were to land up in situations which we periodically do of not having the right kind of water at the right place at the right time. So it's intrinsic to it. We as a foundation keep looking out for it. Things that we learned in geography and we thought we'll never ever need to use it, like contour maps and so on. Now you realize that translated, the village women, they understand it because there's a universal truth. Water can only flow down. And therefore, those last mile kind of things improves the effectiveness of whatever is being done. Whatever is being done on large scale, but these last minute understanding adjustments can make sure, is it relevant? Is it going to be there at the right moment or not? So in step by step, it has a very critical and crucial role to play, and we are very keen to support it.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful example that you gave, and that essentially drives to the point saying that leveraging core principles of water sustainability with advanced technologies, I think we'll be able to create a model, and as you rightly said, it'll evolve over a period of time. A very interesting question to you, Luisa, and we've seen, what Shraman told earlier about water and climate being the two sides of the coin, and in climate we've seen largely discussions around carbon and carbon credits, and we've seen the market right from the Kyoto Protocol till now, how it has evolved, the voluntary market, the regulated market. And we have embarked on a program for water credits. What do you think could be the key learnings that we could take from the carbon overall market and to make the future water credit market more sustainable, more robust?
Thank you for the question. I do agree with you on the fact that if we are to think about financial solutions such as water credit, we need to look at the carbon credit market very seriously, as well as to also consider the specificity of water, water ecology, and biodiversity, which are extremely different from the carbon story. So first of all, the carbon credit market has done, there is plenty of literature on the many mistakes of this market. You know, it's been criticized diffusely for having very poor quality control, no accountability or very minimal accountability, no permanence, no verifiability, misleading claims. It has been used as a go, pass, jail-free sort of card. And we know water is perfect for washing, right? It's also perfect for greenwashing. So the thing is, we need to figure out that ecology is not protection, is not an excuse to make money. And unless we start from there, we are not going to be able to do that. The risk of the water credit is that we're introducing one more competing priority over finite resource. And the fact that water is a finite resource, but it's not only a zero-sum game. It's worse, in a sense, it's much more difficult than that, because it operates at the micro scale as well as the micro scale at the same time. So what you're saying, for example, Shraman, before, and you did mention some of this, but I feel that somehow you're missing out on the ecological importance of that. I mean, forgive me for, kind of making it into more of a discussion. This idea of using water to extremely punctually, it was using the technology to extremely punctually provide water to agriculture, is missing out on biodiversity completely. And ask village people, how do they like to live in an environment which doesn't consider biodiversity? See, the truth is that if in a village there are 1,000 frogs of 5 species or there are 1,000 frogs of 20 species, it makes a huge difference because different species of frogs will eat different pests and therefore will contribute differently to getting rid of mosquitoes and for us to have a comfortable life, for which your understanding of water is done for the purpose of that plant and for the cash crop and the money that you're getting out of it, but not necessarily to contribute to biodiversity and ecology, therefore to our health and our wealth. So I think these are the kind of learning that we can get from the carbon credit markets as well as from a more holistic, a bigger frame of the story that we can offer.
We are actually running out of time. Last question to Prasanna, and quickly one question to all the panelists of what do you think could be next 2 steps that we should do for next in water. Prasanna, one quick question on the startup incubators, how to rationalize that very quickly, and then the answers from each one of the panelists, and we'll close the panel.
So I think in water sector, there are many startups which are coming up and with many new technologies. I'll specifically talk about the nature-based solutions and related technologies. I think with the differences in hydrogeology and challenges that we have, especially in India, it's also similar worldwide, but especially in India, with the differences, that context has to be there. Again, the different technologies that are coming up, there has to be some standardization of that. And the most important is the evidence building part. Because that evidence building, so for example, NBS, the term was coined in 2009. Since then, there has been a lot of research. But then why there is no implementation or why there is less implementation? So that's where, IWA, we are also working on this evidence building when it comes to nature-based solutions. We are working with the Nature Conservancy. And this is where we want to create a database of case studies where we critically analyze them and then we put it to the global stage that, okay, this is the evidence that we have built and now it is safe or it will be convincing enough for any implementer to actually implement it. So that standardization and evidence has to be there.
Great. So one question to each one of you all. What will be the next in water sustainability?
First, raising the consciousness, raising the debate, raising the kind of questions that have just got raised, because there's no perfect solution. Everything has things. But first, let's talk a lot more about water than we have talked about.
Luisa.
Building on this, Ms. Smriti Irani ji yesterday was raising a very pointed critique of AI and technology. And so from there, we can call what Prasanna was saying as there is no silver bullet here. So let's be very clear. The other thing is in terms of sustainability, we cannot believe that we just build nature and that's easy. You can't remove 1,000-year people plant and just put a sampling there. Yes, they all count as one plant, but the enormous difference will make it such that the substitution doesn't make any sense. So the point is use your bold and wise policies to build the future. So that next time we are here, we are still talking about what's next in water and not what's next after water.
Thank you.
So I think when it comes to what is next in water, we need to look at the approach that we have been using. So I think most of the calamities or most of the challenges, we are looking at it in a very reactive way, but not in a proactive way. So the proactive way would be, going upstream, be it in natural systems, be it in artificial systems. So when we are talking about STPs, look at what the source is. Look at what kind of wastewater is coming in. What are the concentrations? For natural systems, look at what is the catchment area. How much water is coming in? What is the quality of water? So start thinking proactively so that we have that sustainability that can be achieved.
So the key points coming out from Shraman: advocacy, discussion, debate, and deliberation. Luisa talked about policy, strengthening, and doing one thing at a time. And Prasanna talked about doing customized approach, more of a preventive action than corrective action. And my point is treat water as a currency. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shraman. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you, Prasanna.
All right, a round of applause for this wonderful session. Okay, we're going to move on to our next session. Perhaps this is something that everybody can